Hey everyone, welcome to Christina Cakes It. I'm Christina, and today I'm doing an updated episode on how to send a care package. So I've already done an episode on how to package and ship baked goods, but I really wanted to do an updated episode because Veterans Day is coming up. And every year for Veterans Day, I use it as an opportunity to highlight our military, both our active duty and retired service members, because I am definitely a proud military supporter. And this year, I wanted to show you guys how to not only package and ship goods that are going to withstand extreme heat and stay fresh for long periods of time, but the best recipes that you guys can include in those care packages. And there are many things to consider when you are sending a care package overseas. And the reason that I know so much about doing this is because I have sent many care packages to Afghanistan, and I definitely learned what works and what doesn't work. So I'm gonna go over everything with you guys to ensure that if you are sending a care package overseas, that it is going to arrive perfectly. And the first thing I wanna share is about how we package our baked goods. So the packaging is super important. You are going to want to individually wrap every single thing, which I'm gonna show you, and you also wanna put it into a sturdy container. So I love like the Ziploc or Gladware, like disposable Tupperware. And this is the size I often use because it fits perfectly into the flat rate box. So these are the 9-cup versions. You don't have to use this size. You can use any size that's going to fit into your flat rate box. So that brings me to my next very important point. You do need to ship through the United States Post Office because they are the only carrier that will ship to APOs and FPOs. And I always get the biggest flat rate box, the large flat rate box, and you get a very small discount if you are sending military. But you want to get the large because you want to stuff as much in as you possibly can. So packages can take anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks to arrive. And so knowing that, you have to be really mindful of the baked goods you're choosing to include, because there are definitely certain things that will end up moldy, and that would be like the worst thing ever. So first I'm gonna go over the things to stay away from. These are things you do not want to include in your military care package. So you definitely want to avoid anything that is perishable, like anything you would normally keep in a refrigerator. You definitely don't want to include that. You also want to avoid anything that is iced, like any cakes with icing or cookies with icing. Those are probably going to melt or arrive moldy. You also want to avoid anything that has cream cheese, like a lot of cream cheese in the ingredients, or cream cheese icing. Just stay away from that as well. Stay away from breads. So banana bread, pumpkin bread, any of those quick breads. I've heard people have had success with that. I actually had a really failed attempt with banana bread. Did not make it to Afghanistan. So I would stay away from any breads. And I would also stay away from any pies. Those, I don't know if anyone would actually think to send that overseas, but definitely just do not do that. It is not going to work. So now that we know what to stay away from, let's talk about what actually does work in care packages overseas. So any of your basic drop cookies, your chocolate chip, your oatmeal, your snickerdoodles, those are great to include, as well as any dry cookies. So I've never sent it, but I've heard that biscotti ships really, really well. Brownies and blondies also ship well, as do cake pops and cake sickles, which most people wouldn't even think to include, but those were a huge hit in my care packages. And the reason that those ship so well is because the candy melts that are used on the outside have a really high melting point and they withstand the heat. So definitely try to include those if you can. So other things that you could include that ship really well are Rice Krispie treats, chocolate fudge, as well as, depending on what you call it, the Muddy Buddies or the Puppy Chow, like the Chex Mix. That holds up really well also. So what I'm gonna be packaging and shipping today are Rice Krispie treats, peanut butter brownies, chocolate chip cookies, cake sickles that actually have this really cute camouflage look to them, as well as Puppy Chow / Muddy Buddies, whatever you want to call it. And all of these I have tutorials for on my channel, so if you want to make any of these, you can find those on my channel. Super easy recipes. So I already mentioned that you do need your plastic Tupperware, something sturdy so that things don't get smashed. We know we're shipping in a flat rate box, but the other imperative shipping items we're gonna need. So Glad Press and Seal, I swear by this. I use this in literally every single package that I ship. And like I always joke, if you've seen my other episodes, that I am not sponsored by Glad, but I totally should be with all the free advertising I give them. And you are going to want to have just some plastic bags. Essentially, we do like a lot of layering so that we can keep our baked goods fresh. So to get started, I'm going to wrap each item in Glad Press and Seal, and I do this one by one. And even though it's tedious, it is worth the effort. So I'm just gonna start with my Rice Krispie treats. And I'm sending chocolate chip cookies in my package, and it is October right now. It is not super hot. If it was summertime, this is really important, I would not send chocolate chips in my cookies. I would use M&Ms, just like a nice little cheat, because M&Ms don't melt. And now for the Cakesicles, which I just cannot get over how pretty these look. I never thought that you could say that camouflage is pretty, but I actually think I accomplished it. And I do want to include some of the Muddy Buddies in here, and I'm just putting it in a little mason jar. I just think it would look cute. You could definitely put it in, or just leave it in the plastic bag and put it in Tupperware, but I just like when everything looks really pretty, so I'm using a jar. I'm also just gonna throw a label and ribbon on my jar, just going along with my making everything look pretty theme. And the next step is, now that we've wrapped all of these individually, we're going to actually put them in to a freezer bag. So I've done this a lot of times, so I kind of have an idea of how many are going to fit in here. And the goal is obviously to get as many treats into one package as possible. So from here, we're gonna give another layer of press and seal all around this whole thing. So make sure to label these so that the recipient knows what she is receiving. So the last thing I need to do is just address this, and then when you are sending care packages overseas, you do need to fill out a customs form. It's actually a little bit finicky, I guess. So sometimes the post office requires them and sometimes they don't, I think depending on the destination. But what I like to do is I fill out the customs form before I go to the post office, just to have everything ready so that I can get in and get out of there pretty fast. So this package is ready to go, and I'm going to have this shipped out tomorrow. I'm really excited for her to get it. She definitely deserves it. And I definitely encourage you guys, if you have a loved one who is in the military or who did serve in the military, go ahead and make them a package. We definitely want to show our thanks to them, and there is no better way to do it than a box full of baked goods. And I hope that you guys really enjoyed learning all of my different techniques, my tried and true tips to making sure packages arrive perfectly overseas. And if you did, don't forget to give this episode a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel.